Most people laugh at the idea of a penny being worth real money. But what if I told you that one tiny detail, invisible to the average, could make a 1-cent coin sell for 6 figures at auction? Right now, coin collectors are on the hunt for a specific Lincoln penny minted decades ago, and if you have it, you're sitting on a hidden fortune. This could be the most valuable penny in your house, and you don't even know it yet. Top 1. Hey everyone! Where coins aren't just change in your pocket, they're hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. Now tell me, have you ever glanced at a penny and thought, what could this old thing possibly be worth? Well, what if I told you that one of those tiny copper coins, the kind we toss in jars or forget in our car's cup holder, could be worth a small fortune? I'm talking life-changing money, enough to buy a luxury car, take a dream vacation, or even make a down payment on your dream house. Sounds unbelievable? Stick around, because today, we're diving deep into the story of the 1967 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a humble coin with a rich past and, for one extremely rare example, a jaw-dropping price tag that'll leave you speechless. So sit back, maybe grab your coin jar, and let's explore the fascinating world of American currency and a penny that's turning heads in the world of collectors. Let's take a little trip back in time, to the year 1967. America was in the midst of massive change. The Vietnam War was escalating, civil rights movements were shaking the foundation of the nation, and the Beatles were topping the charts. And while all of that history was unfolding, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing one of the most iconic coins in American history, the Lincoln cent. Now, to most people, the 1967 penny seems ordinary. You've probably seen one. On the front, or obverse, you've got the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. It's been on the penny since 1909. Turn it over, and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial standing tall on the reverse, a design created by Frank Gasparo. So why are we talking about the 1967 version specifically? Well, here's where things get very interesting. 1967 was a strange year for coin collectors. The U.S. Mint had temporarily suspended mint marks, that little letter you normally see below the year, to discourage hoarding and speculation. That means whether a penny was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, they all looked the same. This decision created a kind of mystery around these coins. Collectors couldn't tell where a coin was minted. And that made high-quality examples from certain mints especially rare, especially if they were struck with unusual precision or by accident with errors. Let's talk about those errors and unique features, the things that can turn a common coin into something truly valuable. In the world of coin collecting, rarity isn't just about how many were made. It's also about what went wrong during the minting process. And believe it or not, mistakes are where the real money is. We're talking double dies, where images are struck twice by mistake, causing doubled letters or numbers. We're talking off-center strikes, where the design is shifted or incomplete. Even tiny things, like missing elements or unusual finishes, can mean a huge increase in value. Some 1967 Lincoln cents were struck on bronze planchets that weren't standard, or had doubling on the lettering, or even contained minor design shifts that only expert eyes could catch. And when those rare errors combine with pristine condition, like a coin graded MS-67 or higher by professional grading services, that's when collectors start pulling out their wallets. Big time. But here's where the story gets really exciting. Out of the millions, literally, over 3 billion, 1967 Lincoln cents that were minted, a few have surfaced that are anything but ordinary. These coins have something special, something that sets them apart and makes serious collectors go wild. One of these rare, pristine condition 1967 pennies, complete with an exceptional mint error and nearly flawless preservation, has been sold for a truly stunning amount of money. And no, we're not talking hundreds of dollars. We're not even talking thousands. We're talking about a little copper coin, that sold for $145,000, yes, you heard that right. A penny, the same denomination you've dropped in parking lots or used to scratch a lottery ticket, sold for the equivalent of a brand new luxury vehicle or a small home in some parts of the country. So what made it worth so much? It wasn't just one thing. It was the combination of a rare error, impeccable condition, and fierce demand from collectors who knew what they were looking at. This wasn't just pocket change, this was a rare piece of American history. So the next time you empty your pockets or dig through your change jar, don't dismiss those pennies. Take a closer look. You never know what you might find hiding in plain sight. Check the year, examine the details, and look for errors. That little coin could be your ticket to a big payday, because as we've just seen, in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest surprises, and if you ever come across a 1967 Lincoln 1-cent penny that seems a little different, don't spend it. Get it checked by a professional. Who knows? It could be one of the rare ones, just like the one that sold for $145,000. Thanks for watching, and hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into coin history, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden treasure stories, and drop a comment below if you've got any interesting coins in your collection. Who knows? Maybe your penny is the next headline. See you in the next video, and happy hunting. Top 2. Today, we're diving into a story that proves that old saying true: don't judge a book by its cover, and never underestimate a coin just because it's small. This is the story of a quiet little coin from the United States of America, the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny, and how one rare version of it shocked collectors, stunned experts, and sold for a price so unbelievable, you'll need to hear it twice. So grab your coin jars, take a seat, and let's talk about how a tiny copper coin, minted over 50 years ago, became a treasure worth searching for. Let's go back to 1973. It was a dynamic time in American history. The Vietnam War was nearing its final years. The Watergate scandal was beginning to unravel. Gas was under 40 cents a gallon, and the average house cost less than $30,000. The country was changing fast, but some things stayed the same, like the penny. That year, the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents, small, copper-coated coins featuring the beloved 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. His iconic side profile, designed by Victor David Brenner, had already been on the penny since 1909. But in 1973, it still felt just as timeless. On the back of the coin was the Lincoln Memorial, the reverse design created by Frank Gasparo. And just beneath the year, you'd often see a tiny mint mark, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or none at all, which meant it was minted in Philadelphia, but most people didn't give these coins a second thought. They were everywhere, in every pocket, every store register, every kid's piggy bank. Just 1 cent. Nothing more. Or so it seemed. You see, in the world of numismatics, that's the fancy name for coin collecting, the real value isn't always about how many coins were made. It's about how few survived in perfect condition, and how many were born with a beautiful flaw. That's right. In the minting world, perfection is common, but mistakes? Now that's where the value hides. Let's talk about errors. These are the juicy details collectors dream of. Ever seen a coin with doubled letters? That's called a double die. Or maybe one where the image is off-center, or part of the design is missing. Those are minting errors that happen when something goes wrong during the coin's creation. Now, while most 1973 pennies were struck just fine, a very small handful were different. Unusual. Mysterious. Coins that somehow slipped through the cracks with unique traits that turned them from pocket change into historic artifacts. One such coin came to light not long ago, a 1973 Lincoln cent with a highly unusual mint error and preserved in nearly flawless condition. This wasn't a coin someone found dirty and scratched in a coin roll. No, this was a sparkling, high-grade specimen. Practically untouched by time, the fields were clean, the strike was sharp, and the detail beyond impressive. Combine that with an extraordinary die flaw, possibly a double die, or a rare transitional planchet error, and suddenly, that little penny became something else entirely. You might be wondering, why do collectors care so much about this? Why pay thousands, even tens of thousands, for a coin that says 1 cent? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and demand. The fewer that exist, the higher the price. If a coin has an error that only occurred once or twice, it becomes a true 1 in a million. And if it's in pristine condition, that price skyrockets. Collectors, investors, historians, they all want a piece of history. And they're willing to pay top dollar for it. But what about this specific 1973 penny? What happened when one of these incredibly rare examples came up for sale? Well, Let's just say jaws hit the floor, because this particular coin, a 1973 Lincoln 1-cent piece, struck with a rare error, preserved in exceptional condition, and verified by top grading experts, didn't just sell for a few $100s. It didn't go for a few thousand. It was auctioned for an astonishing total of $125,000. That's right. A penny. Just one. Worth more than the average American's annual salary. More than a new Tesla. More than many people's first homes, all from a coin you might already have, sitting unnoticed in your collection, your desk drawer, or your old childhood coin folder. So, the next time you get change at the store, or empty your pockets at night, don't just toss those pennies aside, flip them over. Check the year. Examine the details, because hidden among the billions of ordinary coins out there, is the chance, however small, of something extraordinary. A moment frozen in copper. A mistake that made history. A simple coin that could turn out to be worth a life-changing sum, and remember, the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny may just be the treasure you never realized you had. Thanks for watching, and if you're as fascinated by the world of coins as we are, hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible stories, and let us know in the comments if you've ever found a rare coin yourself. You never know. Your penny might just be the next one to make headlines. See you in the next video, and happy coin hunting. Top 3. Most people don't give pennies a second glance. They roll around in car cup holders, vanish into couch cushions, and collect dust in jars. They're the smallest coin in our pockets, often overlooked and underestimated, but sometimes, one of those tiny coins tells a different story. Sometimes, a simple penny becomes something extraordinary, a piece of history, a hidden treasure, a key to unlocking massive value, and today, we're telling the story of one such coin. The year was 1976, a year that meant something special in the United States. 200 years of American independence. A year of fireworks, flags, and freedom. Bicentennial celebrations lit up cities across the nation. Patriotism filled the air. And while people were focused on the spirit of '76, something else was quietly being struck at the U.S. Mint. A small copper coin, just another penny to most, but not to everyone. Let's talk about the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny. A coin that, for most people, passed through hands without a second thought. But in some rare cases, it became something far greater than its face value. This is a coin you might have in your house right now, sitting in a coin jar, hiding at the bottom of an old purse, or stuck in the folds of your wallet. And what you don't realize, is that one rare version of this penny has already shocked collectors around the world with a value no one saw coming. Now, before we get to that jaw-dropping number, let's go back to where it all began. The 1976 Lincoln penny continued a long-standing tradition. Since 1909, Abraham Lincoln's face had graced the 1-cent coin, the first real person ever depicted on regular U.S. currency. Designed by Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's calm and dignified profile became a symbol of American heritage, and on the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial, beautifully detailed, created by Frank Gasparo. Every element of this coin told a story, a tribute to a president, and a nod to a nation's values. But in 1976, while Americans celebrated the bicentennial, something unusual was happening behind the scenes at the Mint. That year, the Mint was focused heavily on commemorative coins. Quarters, half-dollars, and dollars were getting special bicentennial designs. But the penny? It stayed the same. Or so we thought. Most of the Lincoln pennies minted in 1976 were business as usual. Billions of them rolled out of presses in Philadelphia and Denver. No special design, no celebration, just the standard penny people were used to. But here's where things get interesting. Among the billions of ordinary 1976 pennies, a tiny number were struck under very unusual conditions. Whether by accident or by rare minting circumstances, some coins ended up with unique traits that would later make them incredibly valuable. In the coin collecting world, rarity comes in many forms. Sometimes, it's an error, a coin struck off-center, or twice. Sometimes, it's a die variety, where subtle changes in the tools used to mint the coin cause doubled lettering or distorted details. And sometimes, it's just about condition, coins that somehow, against all odds, survive decades without a single scratch or flaw. And then, sometimes, it's all of the above. One particular 1976 penny, for example, was found with a spectacular combination of traits: a double die obverse, meaning Lincoln's image and the wording appeared subtly but noticeably doubled, and an extremely high-grade strike, meaning it had survived the years without damage, wear, or any sign of circulation. Now imagine that. A coin that was never meant to be special. A penny tossed aside by millions, but this one? It stood out that it was sent in for grading. Experts examined every detail, the lettering, the fields, the edges. It was confirmed, a genuine minting error, preserved in nearly perfect condition, and that's when everything changed. So, you might be asking, what happened next? What do collectors do when a coin like this shows up? They start bidding fast, because rare coins aren't just currency. They're investments. They're history. And for passionate collectors, they're trophies. The auction for this rare 1976 Lincoln penny began with quiet curiosity, but quickly turned into a full-blown bidding war. Phone lines lit up. Bids came from all corners of the country. No one wanted to miss their chance to own what could be one of the most unique Lincoln cents ever discovered, and when the hammer finally dropped, the room was stunned. That single, simple penny, the 1-cent coin from 1976, sold for $115,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A coin worth 1 cent on paper, but over $100,000 to the right collector. So, the next time you get change from a store, don't ignore that little copper coin, flip it over. Look at the year. Check for doubling, errors, or any unusual marks. Because one simple glance could turn a penny into a payday. Coin collecting isn't about luck. It's about awareness. About knowing what to look for. And as we've seen today, even the most common-looking penny can hide a secret that makes it priceless. The 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny proves that sometimes, the smallest things carry the biggest surprises. Thanks for watching. If this video sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Drop a comment if you've ever found a strange or rare coin. Your next discovery might just be worth a fortune. Until next time, keep searching, because treasure might be hiding right in your pocket. Top 4. We carry them around every day, coins jingling in our wallets, lying forgotten in drawers, or resting at the bottom of coffee cans. Most of us don't even glance at them. Especially pennies. They're the smallest denomination in American currency, and the most overlooked. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, specifically a Lincoln cent from 1972, could be worth more than a brand new luxury car? Yes, you heard that right. Today's video is going to completely change the way you look at change. We're diving deep into the story of a humble 1-cent coin from the United States of America, a coin so ordinary, you've probably seen one without thinking twice. But one rare version of it. That version shook the coin collecting world, and sold for a price no one could have predicted. So don't blink. Because this is the story of the 1972 Lincoln penny, the copper coin that became a 5-figure legend. Let's rewind the clock and set the stage. The year was 1972. Richard Nixon was in the White House. Gas was about 55 cents a gallon. NASA was preparing for the final Apollo missions. And across America, the economy was in a strange, shifting place. The U.S. Mint, coins were being produced in the billions. And one of the most common was the Lincoln cent, a simple 1-cent piece made of copper, featuring the profile of President Abraham Lincoln. A coin that had already been in circulation for over 60 years by that point. On the front, Lincoln's classic side profile, designed by Victor David Brenner. A design so iconic, it's still used today. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, detailed down to the tiny statue of Lincoln visible between the columns, and below the date, you'd find a mint mark, either a D for Denver or no mark at all, which meant it came from Philadelphia. Now, on the surface, the 1972 Lincoln penny didn't seem special. Over 5 billion were minted. They were common. Ordinary. Practically invisible in the everyday hustle of life, but not all 1972 pennies were created equal, because buried among those billions were a few coins that looked almost identical to the rest, but were hiding a rare secret. In the coin world, that secret has a name: double die obverse. Now, what does that mean? Well, sometimes during the minting process, a coin die, the tool that stamps the image onto the coin, is misaligned or shifted slightly when it's being prepared. If it's struck twice, but slightly off, it creates a doubling effect in the image, and when that happens, you get a double die. The most obvious place you'll see this is in the lettering. Look at "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the year 1972. On these rare coins, the letters and numbers appear doubled, almost like a ghost image right next to the original, and let me tell you, collectors go crazy for these. The 1972 Lincoln penny has one of the most famous double die errors in US coin history. It's dramatic. It's obvious. And it's valuable. But only a tiny number of these errors made it out of the mint and into circulation. Most people never noticed. They spent them. They dropped them. They forgot about them, but a few lucky individuals, they spotted something different, and for those who held on to those rare error coins, and kept them in good condition, well, their patience paid off in a very big way. But there's another factor that determines a coin's true worth: condition. You see, a coin with a rare error is valuable. But a coin with a rare error that's also in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's where things really heat up. When a coin is submitted to a professional grading service, it's assigned a grade based on its appearance, from worn-out pocket change all the way up to near perfection, known as mint state or MS. Some of the rarest 1972 double die pennies were preserved so perfectly that they earned top grades, MS 65, MS 66, or even higher. Now combine that grade with a dramatic error, and you've got a collector's dream. One particular 1972 penny, featuring the famous doubled die obverse and preserved in nearly flawless condition, sent shockwaves through the numismatic world when it went up for auction. People watched in awe as the bids climbed higher, and higher, and higher still. Collectors recognized just how rare this combination was. The demand was fierce. The competition was intense. And when the final gavel came down, it became clear that this was no ordinary coin. That 1 copper cent, a penny you could have found in your change, sold for an eye-popping total of $155,000. Yes. One single penny. So the next time you're about to toss your coins into a jar, or ignore that penny on the ground, think again, check the date. Examine the lettering. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, or anything unusual. That little coin could be your ticket to a life-changing discovery. Coins are more than just money, they're pieces of history. And some of them are worth far more than the number stamped on their face. The 1972 Lincoln 1-cent penny proves just that, a small copper coin that quietly became a six-figure legend. Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this story and want more amazing coin facts, rare finds, and hidden treasures, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a video. Got a 1972 penny in your collection? Take a second look, it might just change your life. See you in the next one, and as always, happy coin hunting. Top 5. Have you ever looked at a penny and thought, this can't possibly be worth anything more than a cent? Well, today might just change how you see every single coin in your pocket. You see, hidden in plain sight across America are coins that look ordinary, until someone takes a closer look. And sometimes, what looks like pocket change turns out to be a piece of history, one that can sell for the price of a luxury car, a college education, or even a down payment on a house. In this video, we're going deep into the mystery of the 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a small, unassuming coin that millions of people passed through their hands, but a few held onto without realizing the hidden treasure they possessed. And one of those coins, it recently made headlines for being worth more than most people earn in an entire year. So buckle up, coin lovers, this isn't just about copper and cents. This is a real-life story of rarity, errors, collectors, and a penny that stunned the numismatic world. Let's go back to 1978. It was a different world. Jimmy Carter was in the White House. The first Garfield comic strip hit newspapers. The Sony Walkman hadn't been released yet, and gas was about 65 cents a gallon, and while the world moved forward, the US Mint was doing what it had done for decades, striking coins for everyday use. That year, they produced the Lincoln 1-cent penny in massive numbers, over 5.5 billion of them. Yes, billion with a B. These pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, just like most Lincoln cents before 1982. They featured the same classic design, Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo. It was a familiar coin, reliable, simple, and everywhere, but within that sea of pennies, a few coins weren't like the others, they looked the same to the average person. But under close examination, something was different. And that difference would turn out to be worth a small fortune. So what exactly makes a 1978 Lincoln penny valuable? It all comes down to three things: rarity, condition, and errors. Let's talk about errors first. In the world of coin collecting, an error doesn't mean a bad coin, it means a rare one. Minting mistakes can happen in many ways. A die may strike a coin twice, causing doubled images. A blank used for another denomination may be struck with the wrong design. Sometimes, the metal composition is wrong, or the design is off-center. These mistakes aren't common, but when they happen, and the coin escapes the mint without being caught, it becomes a collector's dream. In 1978, several rare Lincoln cents were discovered with doubling on the obverse, the front side, particularly in the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." That means the die struck the coin more than once, but slightly misaligned. You might think a little blur or double line in the text would make the coin flawed, but in the eyes of a collector, that kind of flaw is gold. Now let's talk condition. If a coin is rare but has scratches, dents, or signs of circulation, it still has value, but not nearly as much as a coin that looks like it just left the mint yesterday. Grading services like PCGS or NGC look at coins under magnification and assign them a grade on a 70-point scale. Anything graded 65 or higher is considered gem or better. That's when the money gets serious. Combine a rare 1978 error penny with a high grade, and suddenly that 1-cent coin turns into something far more valuable than anyone could have expected. But the story doesn't stop there, because one particular 1978 Lincoln penny, with a dramatic error and in pristine, uncirculated condition, recently surfaced and caught the attention of serious collectors across the country. This wasn't your average nice find. This was the kind of coin that makes people stop what they're doing and take notice. When this rare 1978 penny hit the auction block, no one knew exactly what to expect. But it didn't take long for bids to start flying in. Collectors recognized what they were looking at: a beautiful coin with an unmistakable double die obverse, flawless copper luster, and virtually no marks. It had been graded at an exceptional level, and experts agreed, it was one of the best of its kind. And in the world of coin collecting, quality and rarity make all the difference. The final price. That's the part that stunned everyone in the room, because that one little Lincoln penny, a coin that said 1 cent right on the back, sold for an incredible $122,000. Yes, that's right. A single coin. Just one. Worth more than 4 brand new pickup trucks. Worth more than some people's entire retirement savings. And it had started out just like every other penny, sitting unnoticed in someone's collection. So what's the takeaway? It's simple: never ignore the small stuff. Next time you empty your pockets or go through your old change jar, don't skip over the pennies. Look at the dates. Examine the letters. You never know when you might stumble upon a coin with an error, a mystery, or a story, the kind that turns ordinary change into extraordinary fortune. The 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny is proof that even the most overlooked coin can become the most unforgettable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a world where pennies are worth more than gold, make sure to give this video a like, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story that might just change your view of spare change forever. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a strange or rare coin. Your penny might be the next one to make headlines. Until next time, keep hunting, stay curious, and never underestimate a coin. Top 6. You're digging through your old drawer. You find a dusty jar filled with loose coins. You dump it out on the table, and among the quarters, dimes, and nickels, a few pennies slide across the surface. You glance at one of them, just a 1981 Lincoln cent. Nothing special, or so you think, but what if that exact penny, that small, copper coin that most people wouldn't even stop to pick up off the street, turned out to be worth more than a luxury car? Sounds impossible, right? Well, not quite, because today, we're diving into the astonishing story of the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might just be hiding in plain sight. It's a tale of history, mistakes, and a shocking discovery that sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world. By the end of this video, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. Let's rewind the clock and talk about what was happening in America in 1981. Ronald Reagan had just taken office as president. MTV was launched for the first time. IBM introduced its very first personal computer. And across the country, inflation and economic shifts were beginning to change the way Americans thought about money. At the US Mint, they were busy. Pennies were still in high demand, and in 1981 alone, the Mint produced well over 13 billion Lincoln cents. That's right, billion, with a B. But here's where things get interesting. 1981 was the last full year the penny was made using a mostly copper composition, 95% copper, 5% zinc. Just 1 year later, in 1982, the Mint would switch to a cheaper copper-coated zinc blend to cut costs. So that already makes 1981 pennies the end of an era. But within those billions of coins, a handful had something else that made them truly special. A rare mistake. A minting error. Something that turned an ordinary 1-cent coin into a hidden treasure. Let's talk about what makes a penny valuable. You see, it's not just about age. It's about errors, rarity, and condition. Most of the 1981 Lincoln cents were struck normally and released into circulation. But every now and then, a few coins leave the mint with imperfections, the kind that make collectors go wild. We're talking about double dies, where parts of the design appear twice due to a misaligned strike. Or off-center strikes, where the image doesn't land squarely on the coin. Or transitional errors, where coins are struck on the wrong type of metal. In 1981, one of the most desirable errors was the double die obverse, where the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word, "Liberty," appears doubled, like a shadow. It's not something you see unless you're really looking, but when you spot it, you'll know you found something special. Combine a rare error like that with a coin in near-perfect condition, and you've got yourself a jackpot, and that's exactly what happened with one particular penny from 1981. Let's paint the picture. A collector finds an old penny roll, untouched for decades. They open it and notice something odd about one coin. The lettering looks thicker. The "Liberty" is shadowed. "In God We Trust" seems ever so slightly doubled. They send it off for grading, and the results come back, genuine double die obverse, and in mint state condition. Not just any mint state, this coin was virtually flawless. A rare error, perfectly preserved for over 40 years. When news of this coin spread, it didn't take long before major collectors and investors started circling. Why? Because coins like this don't come around often. Rare. Check. Historical significance. Check. Incredible condition. Absolutely, the coin went to auction. The bidding was intense. Collectors knew what they were looking at, one of the finest known error coins from 1981. The kind of piece that belongs in a museum, or in a very exclusive private collection, and when the dust settled, the final sale price stunned even the experts. That one little copper penny, the 1981 Lincoln cent with the double die, sold for a jaw-dropping $116,000. Yes. A penny. Just 1 cent, worth more than most luxury cars. Worth more than some people's college tuition. All because of a rare minting error, and someone who knew what to look for. So what can we learn from this? Simple. Never ignore the small stuff, the coins in your drawer, your old piggy bank, or that dusty jar in the garage. They could be hiding something special. Especially those older copper pennies. Take a closer look. Examine the details. Learn what makes an error coin. Because your next casual glance could turn into a life-changing discovery. The 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny reminds us that hidden treasures don't always sparkle. Sometimes they're copper, a little dirty, and sitting right under your nose. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another coin collecting discovery. And hey, let us know in the comments, have you ever found a strange or valuable coin in your change? You never know, your penny might be the next one worth 6 figures. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp, and happy coin hunting. Top 7. What if I told you that one of the most overlooked coins in your pocket, a simple, everyday penny, could be worth more than a high-end sports car? Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's the truth. Hidden among billions of coins, a few rare pennies have become legendary in the world of coin collecting. And one of them? It's the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might just be sitting in your coin jar right now. So sit tight, grab your loose change, and watch closely, because today, we're telling the story of how one tiny coin, worth just a single cent on paper, was discovered to be worth a fortune. This is the story of the 1980 Lincoln penny, and why you should never underestimate the power of pocket change. Let's go back to the year 1980. It was a time of big transitions in America. Ronald Reagan was campaigning for the presidency. The country was facing high inflation. Postage stamps were just 15 cents. And across the nation, people were tightening their belts. Every cent counted. The U.S. Mint, production was booming. Over 7.4 billion Lincoln cents were struck that year alone. These were the last years of the classic 95% copper composition, a blend that would be changed just 2 years later in 1982 due to rising metal costs. Each 1980 penny bore the timeless design created decades earlier. On the front, the dignified image of President Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, with such precision that even the statue of Lincoln is visible between the columns. So what makes a coin that was produced in the billions so special? Why would any 1980 penny be worth more than 1 cent? The answer lies in what most people never see, the mistakes. When a coin is minted, it's supposed to come out flawless. But sometimes, something goes wrong. The dies, the metal pieces that stamp the design onto the coin, can be misaligned, doubled, or cracked. The blanks, the flat discs used to make coins, can be struck on the wrong metal, or not aligned correctly in the press. These rare errors turn ordinary coins into highly sought-after collectibles. In 1980, a very small number of Lincoln cents were struck with what collectors call a double die obverse. What does that mean? It means the front of the coin, the side with Lincoln's portrait, was struck by a die that had been misaligned or imprecisely engraved. As a result, the inscriptions like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and even the date, 1980, appear slightly doubled. Not blurry, doubled. Like a shadow effect that's unmistakable to the trained eye. At first glance, most people would never notice. But to a numismatist, a coin expert, that slight doubling is a flashing neon sign that screams, rare. Valuable. Important. But rarity alone isn't enough. Let's talk about condition. If a coin has a valuable error but has been banged up, scratched, worn out, or exposed to the elements, its value takes a hit. But when a coin is found in mint state, meaning it looks as crisp and sharp as the day it was struck, that's when things get really exciting. Now imagine this. A collector, casually searching through old penny rolls, finds a 1980 cent that looks unusually sharp. They notice the doubling on the date. On "Liberty." On "In God We Trust." They send it in for grading. The results come back, authentic double die obverse, and graded mint state 66 red, one of the highest known for this error. Suddenly, what was once a penny, becomes a prize. The coin goes up for auction. And the bids come in fast. Collectors know this is something you don't see every day, a rare coin, tied to a significant transition period in U.S. minting history, in pristine condition, with an unmistakable error, and then, the final hammer drops. The price is announced, and everyone watching is stunned. That single 1980 Lincoln penny, just 1 cent in value on its face, sold for a staggering total of $120,000. Let that sink in. 1 penny. One mistake. One extraordinary condition. That's the kind of discovery that changes lives. And the best part? These coins are still out there. Maybe in a forgotten coin jar. Maybe in an old collection passed down by a grandparent. Maybe in your pocket right now. So what should you look for? Start by checking the date, 1980, look closely at the lettering, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year. If anything looks doubled or shadowed, it's worth investigating. Then, check the coin's color and shine. If it has full, rich copper luster and no signs of damage, you might be holding something special. The 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny teaches us something powerful, that the smallest details can hold the biggest surprises. In a world where we rush past the little things, sometimes it's the tiniest coin that carries the heaviest value. So next time you find a penny, don't just walk past it. Pick it up. Flip it over. Take a second look, because that 1 cent could turn out to be a six-figure treasure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story of hidden value and rare discovery, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any more rare coin stories just like this one. Have you ever found a rare coin? Drop your story in the comments. Who knows, your next find could be the one to make history. Until next time, happy hunting, and remember, not all treasure is buried.